Miguel Ángel Moratinos was Spain's foreign minister between 2004 and 2010, during which time he worked closely with the then Chief Minister Sir Peter Caruana and Ernest Montado in the negotiations that concluded the Córdoba agreements. In a letter to Chief Minister Fabián Picardo, Mr. Moratinos, now United Nations Under-Secretary General, said Mr. Montado's loss was felt by all those who had the honour of working with him in the common pursuit of a better future. It's a significant accolade for a Chief Secretary to have been recognised by such a senior diplomat, especially one who was so heavily tasked with forwarding Spanish national interests at the time of the tripartite talks.
Well, look, I'm not surprised that Miguel Ángel Moratinos has wanted to write to me and to the family to express the respect and admiration that there was on the Spanish side for the work that Ernest Montado did in this office most of the time. Ernest was well known to be highly respected by the UK team that was involved in dealing with Gibraltar in all of the time that he was Chief Secretary, with the Spanish teams that were involved in dealing with the episodic interaction that there was between Gibraltar and Spain during the time of the Córdoba agreements in particular, but there's other contact. He's well known in Brussels to be the expert on Gibraltar pensions and all of the issues that arise around social security in Gibraltar. And a lot of the work of international politics and diplomacy is not done by politicians, it's done by officials. And he was the Gibraltar official par excellence of the post-war generation of the years since the 1980s when he took over. He immediately made it feel easy to deal with him. And that for me was the beginning of a very long and warm relationship with him, which went through until some months before his sad passing. And I was up at his home on Mount Road, having lunch with him. He would always cook. It would just be me and him, and we would have the opportunity of testing concepts and ideas, asking him about the history of things. I'm going to miss a great friend. His family, of course, are going to miss a loved one. Gibraltar is going to miss a great Gibraltarian.
Mr. Montado has also received tributes from former governors who worked with him, collated and published by the current governor, Sir Ben Bathurst. Lord Luce said Mr. Montado gave outstanding service to the government and people of Gibraltar, and expressed his condolences. Former Foreign Office Under-Secretary and Deputy Governor Sir Philip Barton said he was a very important figure in the agreement of Gibraltar's new constitution and the Córdoba Agreement. Sir David Deary described him as a wise, kind and calm figure, ready to give good common-sense advice when asked, but never pushing himself forward. Alison Macmillan said Mr. Montado was always the firm and respected hand behind discussions with the UK and Spain. And Lieutenant General Ed Davies said Mr. Montado stood proud as a man of rare integrity, humility, wisdom and selflessness. The last Chief Minister to work with Mr. Montado was Fabián Picardo.
Well, look, in particular, now that we're working on the treaty, we've done a lot of work with Ernest, trying to look at how he and Sir Peter at the time were trying to skin the airport cat in a way that didn't cross any of the sovereignty red lines. I've also done work with him on social security issues, about how he and Sir Joe, when Sir Joe was Chief Minister, had designed the new mechanisms for the creation of a social security system that would not be discriminatory but would ensure that Gibraltarians could afford to pay the amounts that the pre-closure of the frontier pensioners were to become entitled to on Spain's accession to the European Union, what reflection this had on the treaty that we're negotiating now. So there'll be many instances of my having to go back to him, and he was a walking encyclopedia of the administration of Gibraltar. When I picked up the phone and said I needed his advice or needed him to do something, needed him to review something, he'd always say, "Remember, I don't want you to pay me. I'm not one of those. Gibraltar's given me enough."